It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome to a Tuesday. All right. You know, we got to make sure that we let everybody know about this story because it's really interesting that when it comes to, major lawsuits you can file, that really the entire legal system is liberal. Miranda Devine's column in the New York Post, striking a blow for whistleblowers who expose the Bidens. The way the American legal system is weighted against the little guy is exemplified by the $20 million defamation action lawsuit brought Friday night by IRS whistleblowers Gary Shapley and Joe Ziegler against Hunter Biden's attorney, Abby Lowell. For one thing, a lawsuit like this typically will cost upwards of $1 million. For another, Lowell is one of the most feared lawyers in the country, and few of his fellow legal eagles are keen to take him on. The good news is that after several false starts, whistleblower advocacy group Empower Oversight managed to secure the services of Las Vegas defamation lawyer Mitchell Langberg, who has such clients as billionaire Steve Wynn. Now, this is interesting because it's like, okay, they don't have the money. They're regular, civil servants who work for the IRS.
Right.
So they can't afford to file this kind of defamation lawsuit, and they were defamed big time, by the way.
Yeah.
As whistleblowers.
Wow.
Then there is the fact that the legal industry has come to be dominated by aggressively partisan Democratic firms that think nothing of funding lawfare against Donald Trump and supporters or providing pro bono legal advice to people who are politically useful to the Democrats or bowing to pressure from the Democratic Party to jettison politically inconvenient partners. Also, there's no shortage of left-wing billionaires willing to bankroll gratuitous lawsuits like LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman, who funded the E. Jean Carroll case against Trump. Those deep pockets do not exist for conservatives or anyone who does not benefit Democrats. Even though Shapley and Ziegler's lawsuit has a good chance of success, it almost didn't get off the ground because they earn modest public servant salaries and have to rely on donors. The ugly truth is that whistleblowers usually face well-funded retaliatory smear campaigns, said Empower founder Jason Foster, former chief investigative counsel for the Senate Judiciary Committee. That's just wrong, so we set up a crowdfunding effort. DefendWhistleblowers.com to level the playing field with the public's help. We plan to push back hard so retaliators will think twice next time before hurling false accusations at legitimate whistleblowers, government whistleblowers. Shapley and Ziegler stepped out of the shadows last year to inform Congress of how the Justice Department obstructed and slow-walked the criminal investigation of the first son for 5 years. Their bombshell testimony included allegations that prosecutors tipped off Hunter's lawyers about pending search warrants, allowed the statute of limitations to lapse on the most serious charges, withheld evidence from line investigators, and prohibited them from mentoring Joe Biden or his nickname, the big guy, during witness interviews. As a reward, their careers have been destroyed. IRS leadership has abandoned them, and their reputation suffered incredible and malicious harm when Lowell accused them of illegally leaking Hunter's private tax information. They claim Lowell acted with clear malice by retaliating against their lawful whistleblower disclosures with false and defamatory statements to the media. As whistleblowers, Shapley and Ziegler acted with honor and integrity in exposing conflicts of interest, preferential treatment, and political motivations that they reasonably believe were interfering with the criminal tax investigation of Hunter Biden, says her lawsuit filed in the D.C. District Court. The sweetheart plea deal between Hunter and Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss fell apart after Shapley and Ziegler went public with their concerns. Their concerns were validated when Hunter pleaded guilty in California this month to all felony tax crimes brought against him. It's really interesting that it's like we're whistleblowers, but our reputations and everything can be destroyed, and there isn't an infrastructure like the Democrats have and liberal billionaires to bankroll, as we've seen, for example, lawfare against Trump.
Well, and that's it. When you look at a number of cases that have come against, look, we talked about, in fact, testifying. If you're part of an administration and you're called to testify, well, the going rate, you're going to have to hire a lawyer. This is aside from whistleblowers, but how expensive it is and how it's stacked against you if those in power or those with much greater leverage or money come after you.
It was, I think it was I forgot who it was, Michael, I can't think of his name.
Michael Flynn?
No. Michael Flynn, I know.
But Michael Flynn was one of the cases where, they told him, we're going to come after you, we're going to break you. You're going to spend all your money.
Yeah,
you're going to go broke defending yourself.
This was a minor player in the Trump administration who said that he had to testify. He was subpoenaed to testify.
Yeah.
He goes, it costs you $50,000 every time.
Right.
I don't have the money.
Right.
So what do you do? I can't get proper legal advice. It's cost me $50,000. They can bankrupt you by doing that.
Yep.
The average person on the average, that's making the average salary. Now the whistleblowers came forward. I don't know if they had private attorneys or not when they testified in front of Congress at that point. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it cost them, or whether they were protected under the whistleblower law where attorneys were provided for them.
Yeah, I don't know. But, it is definitely the case that the odds are stacked against you. And the whole idea of being a whistleblower, a government whistleblower, is that you can tell the American people something, a wrongdoing. There's something going on here. Or at least you can save yourself, get out of a situation that you believe is going to put your career at risk or legally going to put you at risk. And I asked the question on a couple of the different whistleblower things. How many other whistleblowers are there that just won't come forward? I mean, technically that means they're not a whistleblower, but I mean, how many other people would love to talk but are just intimidated by the entire process? Most people would be intimidated because if you work inside the Beltway, you're very aware of what happens the moment you open your mouth, the moment you want to become a whistleblower, and you just want to go home. You just want to do your job. And you'll just duck your head and not ever say a thing. And I'm not putting that on people who make that choice. That's just the way it is. And unless you have that, if you don't have the money for good lawyers, if you don't have the money to be in that game, but then you're not going to be.
Well, when Abbey Lowell did that, when he accused him of illegally doing it, I think we both went, whoa. And the reason we said that is because whistleblowers are not public figures.
Right. These are not elected officials.
Right. They're
high
not
profile.
They're not media
officials.
people.
Right.
They're not people who said I'm going to be in the arena of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
They simply said things were being that the Department of Justice knew that the president's son committed serious crimes, and they were going to just skate by this. And they thought it was wrong and the public should know. So they followed the whistleblower law.
Mm-hmm.
So for Lowell to come out and say, because remember, you can probably say to anybody, I can say you're an idiot. Doesn't matter. If you're a private citizen or you're public, I can say you're an idiot. I can't say you broke the law.
Right. I can't accuse you of something specific.
Right. I can't accuse you of breaking the law. And in this case, that's what he did. You broke the law. You leaked this material. You broke the law. And they didn't break any law.
Right.
You know how I know they didn't break any law?
Mm.
The Biden administration didn't go to prosecute them.
Yeah, right.
No, but they didn't break. They followed the whistleblower protocol all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And when Abby Lowell did that, I said, why? Why would he do that? Why would you do that? It made no sense to me because they're private citizens. They're just working at the IRS.
Yeah.
They're not public figures.
Right.
Public figures, you have to show malice. In this case, I don't see how they could classify them as public figures. And if they don't, that's a pretty easy defamation lawsuit to win.
Right.
Because all it has to do is be false.
Yep.
And now you could probably add malice to it in the fact that he's trying to defend his client by defaming you. Whether that fits the technical legal version of malice would still be is to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you need malice in this case.
Yeah, right. I don't know if you do.
Because malice technically in this case would mean you knew it was wrong, you knew you were lying, and you did it to destroy them.
Right. Yeah.
And so, wow. But interesting, yeah, I'm just looking at the website for crowdfunding, for whistleblowers. So they can get the attorney. I hope they win this thing.
Yeah, I do too. Well, because the idea would be that victory would also mean that you would see other would-be whistleblowers empowered. They would feel empowered to come forward. If there's a wrongdoing, the American people need to know about it. And if it's stacked against everybody, then, of course, it stays buried. But I hope they win. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. Good luck. 866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
For this next marketing year, soybean growers in the U.S. and actually around the world will be trying to successfully market those beans while dealing with
the combination of large global supplies and a big increase in the U.S. crop as well.
USDA Outlook Board Chairman Mark Jekanowski says world soybean production will be up about 9% from a year ago. And here in the U.S., it looks like our farmers will be harvesting a crop 10% bigger than last year, a record large crop of just under 4.6 billion bushels.
So relatively abundant supplies of soybeans, and that's been putting some pressure on U.S. prices.
Downward pressure, of course. Right now, USDA projecting an average U.S. farm price $10.80 a bushel for this crop that's about to be harvested. That's a drop of $1.70 or 13.5% from this past marketing year. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hey, one of the Democrats that told Biden back a few months ago that he needed to be more MAGA speaks again about Harris. We'll get to that coming up.
All right.
Amazon is mandating that all corporate workers return to the office 5 days a week. The return to office mandate is a sharp change from its current hybrid policy, which requires employees to work from the office at least 3 days a week. Amazon employees will have until January 2nd to switch to the new policy.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, it's, of course, I mean, Walmart did this. In fact, they shut down some of their corporate offices and said, we're moving everything back to 2 different markets, including, of course, Bentonville. And you got to get back to work. I didn't realize at that time that Walmart had corporate employees that were still working from home.
Mm-hmm.
But the age of working from home that started during COVID, and this does not include the companies that already have home-based employees pre-COVID, but the age for those companies that started it during COVID, that's over. Very, very few exceptions to that. I have family members that have, 2 of them that work for companies that long before COVID, they were home-based employees. It's not going to be the norm. Amazon and Walmart right now competing heavily for everybody's business, but also for employees. You know, they want to set up an employee model, but you've got to make sure that you are a well-oiled machine. When it comes to their own proprietary delivery infrastructure and supply chain, basically Amazon kind of took that idea with what Sam Walton created in that regard and copied it and then did it on a massive scale. They have to, staying competitive on pricing is everything. And you have to be efficient across the board as a company. You need everybody doing the most you can. And this is better than laying people off, quite frankly.
Well, some people are upset, though, because Amazon also said while you're at work, you're going to have to work.
Exactly. No drinking.
No drinking. What was it during COVID? Was it 50%?
Yeah.
I think it was like 50% of people were drinking while working from home.
Yeah.
This was during COVID, like the first year.
And the other 50% were blackout drunk.
They didn't
couldn't respond.
They didn't remember.
What?
You know, someday I have half a studio set up in my house. I have a music studio sort of and recording stuff, but someday I may, but I don't know what it is. I've done radio shows my entire life, you know, from a radio studio and a broadcasting studio.
Yeah.
I
like the process of starting the day, getting ready.
Yeah, so do I.
Making the journey, getting to the office.
I like the process.
Being around other people.
Yeah, I do like that.
I like that.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
And I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose if you can't listen live overnight. All right, I just happened to come upon this and say, all right, we've referenced this so much where this is a perfect time for an update, since I just saw that he wrote another column that relates to this. And if you remember, this goes back, I don't know, maybe to May or April, that you had both the Democrat pollster Douglas Schoen and Roy Teixeira, who is a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, who runs the website called The Liberal Patriot. Mm-hmm. And both had suggested to Biden that he become more MAGA. In fact, I forgot which one said even considering building a wall.
Yeah, I forget which one, but yeah.
Yeah, but which is exactly where she has gone to.
Yeah.
It's really amazing that advice was given, and somebody in the campaign. Now, the fact is, if you take that position, the public's going to want to know why you did it.
Right.
Because everybody knows that Harris is as far left as you can get.
Yeah.
She's the far left of the Democratic Party. And so when she has taken all MAGA positions on all the major issues, where Trump can sit there and say, I was going to send you a MAGA hat, and no Democrat gets angry over that. Nobody got angry.
Nope.
No, nobody said Trump's line, she's not going after all of his positions. Nobody said that. You notice that?
Yeah.
Nobody said that. Nobody
Not
came after Trump and said, I can't believe that Trump said that she's copying all of his positions. Nope. Because she did. But it didn't work. Why? She can't explain why, and nobody believes her. But he wrote a column here, Harris's working class problem. Democrats' Achilles heel remains. Democrats are enjoying, just a couple of sentences here, Democrats are enjoying the afterglow of a successful debate by their candidate against Trump. Harris's game plan of goading Trump into irrelevant and defensive tangents worked as intended. She was the, quote, winner, end of quote, remember the winners in quote, of the debate to the extent these designations still have any meaning.
I love it.
But the race is still exceedingly tight and seems likely to remain so, and there's another part of her game plan, or what should be her game plan, that does not appear to be working out so well. I refer to the need to boost support among the working class, which remains a serious weak spot for the Democrats and Harris. The latest New York Times Siena poll is Harris trailing Trump among working class non-college voters by 17 points. That's identical to Biden's working class deficit in the last New York Times poll before he dropped out, and way worse than Biden's deficit among these voters in 2020, a mere 4 points. More detailed New York Times results reveal that Harris, relative to Biden in 2020, is doing 10 points worse among white working class voters and 18 points worse among non-white working class voters. The latter is despite considerable improvement for Harris among this demographic before Biden dropped out. There's no sugarcoating it. This is a serious problem for the Democrats. College-educated America may be delighted with candidate Harris, but working-class Americans are not. And there are a lot more working-class Americans than college-educated Americans. Remember that they will be the overwhelming majority of eligible voters, around 2/3. And even allowing for turnout patterns, only slightly less dominant among actual voters, around 3/5. Moreover, in all 7 key swing states, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the working class share of the electorate, both as eligible voters and as projected 2024 voters, will be higher than the national average.
Wow.
Now, here's the problem. Roy, she followed your advice. She became more MAGA.
Yeah.
She became more MAGA that Trump was considering sending her a hat. She has become so MAGA, Biden wore that Trump hat.
That actually happened.
You're right. I'm not making it. No. You can fact check it. All of that is correct. There is no line at all. And so, Roy, remember, you're the one that said Biden needs to become more MAGA. Here's the part of it, and we said it at the time. Because we were losing it when this came out. I forgot when it was, April, May. It might have been June. I don't know. But we were just losing it going, oh, my God. If you basically stating that the American public agrees with Trump on the issues. So you've got to take Trump's side on all these issues if you want to win.
Right.
Here's the problem. Nobody believes it. And that's what we said to Roy and Douglas Schoen way back then. Doesn't matter what positions they take. They have to be credible on those positions. You can't be as far left as they are. You cannot. I mean, did you see the Colin Allred here running as a Democrat against Ted Cruz? Have you seen his border ad?
Oh, no. I mean,
you would think that he is Trump's right-hand man on making sure that illegal immigrants don't get into the country.
Yeah.
And everyone knows he's lying in Texas, and everybody knows that Kamala Harris is lying about she'd be tougher on the border than Trump.
Yep.
Everyone knows it.
Yep. Well, and because, look, you have to pretend to be something you're not.
Yeah.
You really have to pretend to be something that you are not. And I don't know how the Democrats get back to promoting in big elections, promoting who they are. In blue states, they can just do what they do. But in purple states and red states, what do? Well, you have to lie about it. Pretty amazing.
And I'm seeing that he goes through all the different gaps between working class voters and college-educated voters. And now, before I say this, let me premise this. I do have a college degree. All right.
Okay.
But what all these surveys showed are that college-educated voters are idiots. Present company excluded. But I said this, and I knew this. I grew up in a very, my father was an engineer, but my family was very blue collar.
Yeah.
My father started out as a machinist. That's what the majority of, the brothers were involved in. Everything they did was technical stuff. So even though I got a college degree, I remember, oh man, I'm telling you, the 1967 Ford Fairlane GTA 390 cubic inch. The only problem, some people say it was an automatic. It wasn't a problem. All I can say is I'm happy I'm alive. I remember my brother and I tearing that engine apart. Stuff I would never do today. I mean, I don't know if I could. You look at a vehicle today, I don't know. Number one, you don't have the tools.
Right.
So I grew up, and so after I got my degree, and during college, I worked at a bank. I was first a bill collector, and then in customer service, and then was a club DJ, and then went into radio. Couldn't make any money after about 9 months, and went back and would just the jobs that were offered to me. I said, I don't want to work in an office again, and I didn't. And so I became, like my family did, I became a machinist. And I've said this, if you're a machinist or you're an auto mechanic or a diesel mechanic, you have more actual useful knowledge than probably almost everyone who goes to college except maybe engineering students.
I said that.
Except maybe, because a lot of engineering students, I know this from the engineers that I worked with as a machinist, that were completely clueless. And that the machinist knew way more because they actually knew what a machine would do hands-on, and they were better prepared. I don't want to get into the biggest one I ever had with management when I was a machinist, but they were clueless as to the computer setup of the machine. They were completely clueless, and the thing blew up in their face. And I told them, "Don't do it." They said, "Are you refusing to run your machine?" Go damn straight. I don't want anybody being killed, but I'll stand back here while you push the start button. And they did, and this huge piston rod, something that went in a ship, came flying out and landed at their feet. Boom!
Wow.
And my boss goes, "Shut the damn thing down." And they all walked away. Nobody said a word to me.
Wow.
But they were, so again, that's why I said almost, because a lot of the engineers, unless they had the actual technical knowledge and knew it, there's one thing of actually working with something technical and learning about it.
Well,
both are necessary.
A formal education does not rise to the level of skills.
No, and
it sometimes can, but yeah,
and
it has to be put in practice.
And that's why we always said, and we started on the show, and I think it was a guy who called a janitor when we first started the show together. He goes, "Well, look, I'm only a janitor," and we said, "Don't say that." And then other people would call us and say, "Look, I'm only a truck driver," and we would get, it infuriates us. Don't do that. That's what they want. And they, I mean the elite, the people in power, want you to believe that they have some kind of special magic or education or knowledge that only they can understand, and you, the peon, stand to the side.
Right.
Well, that's not reality.
No, it isn't reality. But the media always wants you to believe, and has for years, the liberal media wants you to believe that, oh, well, no, these are educated voters. These are educated voters. There's another thing, too. Let's take, educated engineer. We just tore that apart. Educated voter. Boom. That's a whole other talk show.
An educated college voter.
Yes, exactly. Having because these are educated voters. Mm-hmm. How many of them can name the 3 branches of government? But it is that idea of, oh, well, these are the people that actually have brains. Mm-hmm. Oh, keep talking.
Well, they're the
and when your car breaks down, let us know how that works for you.
They're the educated college voters. They must know more than you.
Right. Yeah. They have, many of them, clueless about how an economy runs.
I'm an educated college voter. Solar and wind can run the grid.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not an educated college voter. I don't think that's true.
That's a great point. And it reminds me of something I was reading yesterday and seen some things recently where they just fill the void. You know that thing on Jurassic Park where they were missing one of the, the connection, one of the when they did the DNA and they had to, they, I don't know, fixed it with, fainting goats or something. And they
didn't Newman figure that out?
Yeah, Newman, the actor from Seinfeld. But they had to basically patch it. Mm-hmm. They patch their arguments when they do this theory of, well, no, if we did this with wind and solar and we can do this. It's like you're glossing over so much of the engineering, mining, infrastructure details.
What we need to talk about is the uneducated college voter.
Exactly.
866-90-RED-I.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-I.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. So it's going to be an interesting week to see where this the campaign goes on both sides. We already know. I mean, as we said earlier this week, for some reason I'm thinking it's like Thursday or Friday already. But the campaign's set for Trump. Everybody knows where he stands. Independents made that clear. We know where he stands. We don't know where she stands.
Right.
Next move has to come from her campaign. I don't know what they do to
I
get
don't
start
either.
going in it.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.